It's 4 o'clock. I'd like to call to order the Board of Commissioners, the regular meeting, Wednesday, August 29th, 2019. Roll call, we have a quorum. Approval of the minutes, regular.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Employee recognition.
We've got two employees that are going to retire from the district, or have retired, I think. And we've got some distinguished service plaques for them here. First one is for Gerald Silvis. Jerry, would you stand up, please? Appreciate everything. And the second one is for Chuck Corsell. He's back there. The plaques read, thank you for your many years of civil service, your hard work, and your dedication. Okay, Jerry, because I know that was you, and you too, Chuck, have helped make Michigan City grow and prosper. You are commended for your longevity with the sanitary district, and the district's success and improvements happened in large part because of the extra effort you always gave. So this one's for Jerry.
Thank you.
And this one's for Chuck right here. Chuck has been with us. Chuck has been with us for 37 years, and Jerry's been with us for 28 years with the city. So
A lot of years.
it's a lot of years. So we really appreciate the work that they've done.
All right, 3, 2, 1, smile. Okay. All right.
And both of these men, and I could say this with honest truth, that they both have dedicated themselves and gone extra. Anytime you ever needed anything from them, they were willing to do it. We really miss Jerry, probably, maybe a little more than you, Chuck, just from the standpoint that he used to do some really good drawings on the chalkboard. We really miss those drawings. We would come in from a weekend and stuff would happen and you really didn't know what happened, and there would be these drawings on the chalkboard, and they were never really that easy to figure out. You had to kind of piece them together. But
Probably something with a record.
yeah, it was always something like that. So, but we really appreciated that, Jerry, and we're glad that you could come here today. And Chuck's been my foreman here for refuse for the last couple of years, and he's done just a fantastic job for 37 years of service. So thank you both very much. Okay? Thanks very much.
I love this job. If I can, just for a couple of seconds.
Yeah, sure.
I don't need, but I dedicated my life to this job, and I'm sorry I had to take me out like this. I don't know where the cancer came from, but it was worth it. It was well worth, being down here, because I love this job. I didn't want to give it up for nothing.
Well, we really like having you here, man.
So
Thanks, Jerry. Thanks, Chuck. Thank you. Public comment. Is there anybody here in the public that wishes to comment? Public comment. Public comment is closed. See, opening of quotes, bids, and proposals. None. CNG dump trucks. Press release. Anything you want to say?
It's in the board packet, yeah.
Yeah.
We have mine doesn't have the news article copy for some reason. I was even saying, don't blame the people that put the pack together. There's a news article and a press release in your packet. I was just gonna take a little time to read the news article. Is that okay? It's not
Sure.
long.
Yeah.
The highlight is city truck fleet getting greener. State grant will help purchase 3 new CNG dump trucks. The dump trucks now being used by the Sanitary District Refuse Department are more than 20 years old, and they burn diesel fuel and are badly needed of replacement. And thanks to a grant by the Indiana Volkswagen Environmental Mitigation Trust Committee, the Michigan City Sanitary District will be receiving $171,000 to help fund the purchase of 3 new CNG fueled dump trucks. The funds supporting this award are through the Volkswagen Committee. The new clean burning dump trucks will emit very low amounts of greenhouse gas, especially as compared to diesel powered vehicles. Mayor Mears said, the city of Michigan City and the Sanitary District have made strong commitments to the environmental protection, especially clean air. In April, the city was awarded the 2019 actually it was the 2018 Northwest Indiana Partners for Clean Air Municipal Award for its efforts to reduce the air pollution through its use of CNG powered vehicles and through its citywide energy savings projects. Mir also cited the strong application submitted by the district, saying the Environmental Mitigation Trust Committee received over $27 million in requests and only had $9 million available. And the sanitary district was awarded these funds because of the strong application submitted, and the application also highlighted our previous commitments to our CNG facilities. Since 2012, the sanitary district has received grant funding total for the CNG facilities totaling over $630,000. That's just for the CNG facilities alone. Michael Cuss, general manager of the sanitary district, said the district currently operates 11 CNG powered vehicles that reduce greenhouse gas and other pollutant emissions by over 10,000 pounds per year. The new trucks will primarily be used by the refuse department, the sanitary district, The sanitary district has until December 2020 to use the matching funds to purchase of these trucks. Okay? I'm glad that I got a chance to read that, and I appreciate your support as the board for allowing us to apply for this, and we sorely need these trucks, so that will be really good.
Thank you. Financial report. Scott?
Good evening.
Hi.
All right. I'll start by reading the cash balances as of July 31st, 2019. The operating fund had $560,718.82. The improvement fund had $841,634.76. Vehicle replacement at $138,255.68. And the equipment replacement fund at $765,707.56 for a total of $2,306,316.82. The Indian Springs project had $6,254.12, and the Whippoorwill project had $466.53 for a total in that bank account of $6,720.65. The SRF debt reserve account had $493,349.62, and the SRF bond and interest had $248,763.32 for a total at BNY Mellon of $742,112.94. The stormwater fund had $571,095.95. The refuse fund had $1,360,396.25. The special revenue fund had $6,361.95. The levy excess had $8,522.14. And the rainy day fund had $81,307.78 for a total of $2,027,684.07. The Carwick remediation fund had $2,377,253.22 for a total cash balance at the district of $7,460,087.70.
Do any of the board members have any questions? Go ahead.
Okay. Just one comment. As you can see, the cash is improving in the operating fund, and I expect it to continue to go up a little bit because a lot of the big projects are done. The next thing I put in your packet is budget performance report, and I'm still reviewing this because I'd like to have at least a preliminary budget for the operating fund at the next board meeting for you guys to look at. The next two things I put in your packet, the tax levy funds, we're in the midst of doing the budget, and I put in, we actually budget 3 funds. This is the stormwater and the refuse fund. The only other one we budget for is the rainy day fund, and that's got the $81,000 that there's really not much of a budget. We just have to transfer that balance to one of these funds. And as you can see, the budgets are pretty similar year to year. There's really not many changes. especially on the refuse fund, most of it is payroll related in the landfill charge, because the landfill's like 600,000 a year. At the next board meeting, I'll try to put another column in for you before I ask for your approval, that compares it to where I think we'll be this year at the end of the year. But we're tracking pretty close on both of these budgets.
Excellent.
So
Good money management.
that's it on those. And like I said, I'll ask for your approval at the next meeting. I just wanted to give it to you so you could look at it.
You have some questions, Holt?
No. Sorry. The next thing I have on here is, Mr. Meyer and myself met with representatives of SEH Engineering to talk about having them do some work on completing an asset inventory of all the city's assets. And Mr. Meyer's he's reviewing the professional services agreement. I believe, did you pass this out?
I passed out a draft for all the board members. And Scott can finish up.
Yeah, it's kind of a citywide asset inventory. There's other things that we're gonna be doing as far as the computer equipment, and also as far as the buildings the city has and their contents. That may involve other parties to review those things for us, but SEH is gonna be the lead of the overall project. And this is the first step in helping the district, well, probably the city, to develop a asset management plan, which is required now.
Right.
So
It's been required for a while, hasn't it?
Well, it's been not required per se, but it was recommended.
Oh, okay.
But now
It's
for
been
us,
advisable for a long time.
and we do.
And now it's required if you want to pursue any type of grant, federal and/or SRF loan.
Okay,
Right,
all right.
but the district has been good, because
Yeah.
as far as the equipment goes, we do have an asset management plan. We do the preventive maintenance on a schedule that the maintenance department uses. So, I mean, we're pretty good here, but this will help in other areas, especially like the refuse and the vehicle, those types of
And
things.
also with the city, right?
Right.
Okay.
It's kind of similar to your road management plan.
Yeah.
You know. So anyways, I would ask, upon Mr. Meyer's review, that for your approval to proceed with SEH to do this work for us. And
Just as an overlay, in addition to the fact that it's now required, and obviously in order to be able to manage your assets, you have to know what assets you have and what type they are and what condition they're in and things like that. So the city is going through a citywide, including the district, process of doing an asset inventory. As Scott mentioned, there's a couple of different aspects to it. One of which we'll talk about later tonight is the cybersecurity assessment, which everybody knows is a good idea, particularly in light of what happened in LaPorte County a couple of weeks ago. But in any event, that part of that process is actually doing an inventory of all devices, laptops, cell phones, PCs, software connected and involved in the IT operations of the city, including the sanitary district, which is of course part of the city. And as you know, the sanitary district's IT department does all of the IT work for the city, citywide. And then there's also the city itself has entered into an agreement, or is about to, if they haven't done so already, with a firm to do inventory and valuation, as I understand it, of their structure, buildings, and items in the building. So the purpose of SEH is twofold. One, I think all of you remember Damon Suplis, who used to work for Carl Sender, who did a lot of work for the district before on financial matters, is going to be the kind of the lead person here for SEH. But their purpose is to not only monitor the sanitary districts and manage the sanitary district process of, inventorying its assets, but to coordinate the other two entities
and the other two procedures that we can go on through. So in the long run, we end up with a single, unified asset inventory, excuse me. Now, each department, of course, will have separate sections in there, but in the long run, the city needs to have a complete asset inventory. So in the midst of, and have practically completed drafting the contract for SEH. I gave everybody a copy. It's the one that says draft on the top, and there's some spelling errors.
Pile, the back of that pile probably is the last document possible.
It's the big thick one.
Second to last.
There are, I'll tell you in advance, there are some spelling errors, capitalization errors, and, things like that still need to be corrected in it. But fundamentally, substantially, in all other respects, it is completed. So it's the typical, actually, it's the sanitary district standard form agreement for professional engineering services and consulting services. So it's been tweaked in order to accommodate this project, because it's, not really engineering as much as it is an accounting and inventory assessment. But I would request that the board vote to approve that entering into the agreement with SEH. So they get in early and are able therefore to manage the
Right.
citywide asset inventory process.
The not to exceed is 51,250?
That is correct.
Okay, and
That's billed on an hourly basis.
Yeah, I know. The sanitary district paying for all of this, or is it split with the city?
It's gonna be split with the city.
Okay,
Well, I'm working with them now because
Okay.
I'm trying to get it in the budget for next year,
right, I
2020.
understand that.
I make a motion to approve.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
And then, and just one last thing on this, we did buy, as part of the new software that we implemented about two years we've been live, there is an asset module. This will help in ensuring that what we transition into the new system is correct. So that's the last big reason to do it.
Well, you've probably got an asset list.
Yes, we do, but it's not,
It's not up to date. There's things on it that have been disposed of that still show up.
Probably.
And there's other things that should have been added that aren't on it. But for the most part, it is.
Well, at least the sanitary district, but the city maybe a little bit.
Right, because they don't depreciate their assets and put them on the balance sheet.
Exactly.
So they try to keep a list, but it's not.
Yeah.
And not only that, we have some major items like infrastructure that we'd like to break down a little better than we currently have it. It's like one big lump sum. And we've talked about breaking up that infrastructure like in manhole to manhole. And you could kind of, we'd have better records of the pipe, type of pipe, size, all that kind of stuff.
And so will the streets be broken up from like blocks or?
I don't know.
Every crack.
That street.
crack in the street?
Yeah, especially on sidewalks. No,
Okay.
yeah, but, so anyways, that's,
Thank you for approving that.
yeah, thank you.
And,
And then, the last thing I have is, in this month, there's actually 2 dockets, and in the future, there's gonna be 2 dockets. One's for checks, and one's for electronic funds transfers. The auditors brought this up in their review last year, that they would like to see you approve those. And on the EFT one, that one is all the EFTs that we've recorded since January 1st through today. So, and that's why there's 2 in there.
Okay.
And if you would like to call me about it after you look at it, and see it, if you have questions about it, just give me a call. Most of them relate to transfers between funds, so,
Okay.
and that's all I got.
Any questions more?
No.
Okay.
Thank you for defining those two. That was wonderful.
Dan,
Yeah.
you've been standing, now you can sit.
Oh, okay. Afternoon. In July, you note on the report that our injury experience is not up to what it has been in the past. Suffered 5 different injuries, none of which were extremely serious in nature. I'll review each one of them very quickly here. One was a first-degree burn to the neck when a refuse truck hydraulic line ruptured, and that was where the employee received a very minor burn from the hot fluid, returned to work immediately after receiving some medication.
This is case number 6?
Yes, case number 6. Case number 7, that's IT manager working on the Washington Park project, had contact dermatitis when he was exposed to poison ivy, a number of different parts of the body. And also on the same day, a maintenance mechanic, suffered an upper back injury while shoveling sand. This is a fiber optic project that we were preparing for the boat races that occurred. And so some of the intermediate causes for that and into the root causes get into where we really need to have just a little bit better planning from all parties involved, from the city and Coast Guard, so that we can plan this work when it's not the hottest day in the summer, and doing it at a pace that wasn't very conducive to safe work. So those are some of the root causes that we identified for that. So we'll need to do better on that next year. The next one deals with an employee stung by a wasp on his left arm, received some medication, and returned right back to work. And then the next one was a contusion to the right lower leg of a collections department employee when he was lifting a manhole cover with a manhole cover tool. It's a hook. The hook was defective, and we had new tools that were in the shop area that he could have used. So the employee returned back on light duty, and during the time on light duty, he was able to inspect all the other areas where we have manhole hooks, the cover hooks, to make sure that they were all in good repair. If there were any that were identified that weren't in good repair, then he replaced those. So he did help us out quite a bit on making sure that, and then of course we're emphasizing that you need to make sure and check your equipment before you go out to make sure they're in good repair. In taking a look at some of the activities coming up, we have the biennial heavy equipment recertification coming up, the every 2-year recertification on the heavy equipment. That occurs in October and November. So we'll be doing that again. And then we'll have live fire training provided by the Michigan City Fire Department using our portable fire extinguishers that are being taken out of service because of their age and condition. They're still good for training, not good to have for an actual fire event. So we're being assisted by the fire department on providing that. Before the year end, we'll have refuse department employees going through first aid training, again provided by the fire department. So excellent cooperation with the fire department on these different projects. Steve Stanford, operations manager, myself, are looking, and I are looking at driver safety training. There's this past year and last year we've had, I'd say, an uptick in vehicle-related incidents. Almost all of them have been low speed. A couple of them haven't been our fault. For example, a rear-end collision, one of our employees was rear-ended. And so the other one was that here recently this month in August, someone ran a signal, a traffic signal, and struck one of our employees' vehicle. And so that employee is recovering from that on restricted work activity. And so, but having said that, we recognize that that's one of our major risks. We all operate vehicles for the city. And so Steve and I will take a look at what our insurance carrier offers in the way of driver safety training, and we'll see what we might be able to do. And what I recommend is that everyone in the district, from Mr. Cuss all the way through every employee, goes through the driver safety training. And, since it is such a high risk and we could all be potentially impacted from that, I think it'd be a good idea if all of us, including the consultant, goes through the training. And if nothing else, it's a good reminder about, what we should be doing in the way of driver safety. And hopefully be able to avoid situations that may cause an accident in the future.
Yeah, we'll drive a motorcycle and you figure that out.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, okay.
And then we'll take a look this fall at some of our process safety management procedures, taking a look at that and revising those procedures. And so that's the long and the short of it.
Any questions for Dan?
And Dan, don't forget, we need to do snowplow training.
Snowplow training coming up. It looks like the almanac is predicting a unique winter. So we'll take that. I don't know if we'll take that to the bank or not, but we'll provide that training as well.
I just want to point out that Dan mentioned that the fiber optic project up in Washington Park area, you said it was for the boat race. It's actually for everybody up there. It was needed to get completed to be done by the boat race, but it's still there. It's being used by everybody. It will be continue to be used by everybody long after we're gone.
Thanks for the clarification. I appreciate that. But the point is that when we have projects that involve different groups within the city, we need to do a bit better job of pre-planning.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Very good. Okay, project updates. Weaver?
Yeah. I'm Brian Deverona with Weaver Consultants. Can give an update on the Carwood Corrective Action Project at the Carwood Nature Park. Construction's moving along pretty nicely. We've got the leachate seep drain is completely installed. The lift station, the physical structure and internal piping of the lift station has been installed. The valve vault has been installed. There's no pump and panel yet. That'll be coming, as well as the electric. It still needs to be hooked up. We have the force main from the lift station out to the sanitary manhole that is completed and functioning and operational. It's been tested.
Using a portable pump.
Yeah, you're right. And so currently there's a temporary pump installed in the lift station so that that liquid can get pumped out. Ultimately, we'll have the permanent lift station pumps installed, but those are not currently in there. And there's a nice, there's a nice flow coming into the lift station, very similar to what we expected, actually. The clay layer is going on now. The bulk of the bank excavation has been completed. There's still some fine tuning with the grading happening, and there's some upland grading going on as well. The clay layer is going down on the bank. It's approximately, roughly a third done from the water level up to the top of the bank. So there's a 2-foot clay layer that gets installed along that entire bank. That is that's going along nicely. We've been monitoring that construction so far. We've tested the clay material. It meets all the project specs, and they're installing it in accordance with the project specifications. So that's going well. We're continuing on with clay, continuing on with excavation, and the shore side, the erosion control materials that will go on the bank, which get installed on top of the clay layer. That I think preliminary is scheduled to start being installed around September 9th, and then that'll kind of follow along behind the clay. Clay will keep going, and this will go on top of the clay, and they'll kind of be going simultaneously for a while. So it's so far so good, moving along nicely. Any questions about that?
What's the estimated completion date in the contract? What do we?
I believe it's January.
Substantial completion is scheduled for January and final completion February.
Okay.
Right. I think we're hoping to get seeding, at least on the on the bank, done within the growing season yet. So we were just discussing that.
We're taking October.
Yeah, sometime in October to get that to get that seeded so that, you know, we can get some stand established.
I'd just like to say that the project, in my opinion, it just looks fantastic, like fantastic work. I mean, the stuff that they've gotten, you know, it's not done yet, but the banks that they're installing with the clay, and when you go out there like I have, and I know Steve has, and many of the district employees, when you saw what it was like even 3-4 weeks ago and what it looks like now, it's just remarkable. And it looks really nice. And Brian, my hat's off to you on the design, and so far at least, and on the working with Woodruff's, my hat's off to them. They've done a really nice job on the construction and so far, and I think it's just coming along just beautifully.
Yeah, it's a great job.
It looks really good out there. If you haven't been out there in the last few days, it's worth a look. And I think it's going to be a real treat when it's done. So thank you so much.
So what are they gonna do with the big piles of,
The clean mulch is going to be used for the shore socks, for filling in, for the stabilization, help the grass grow, and then the other mulch that has debris in it's going to be just spread out on the site.
oh, good.
To fill.
And then
of course it'll be
the
covered.
2-foot
Yeah,
cover
yeah.
will go over the top of that, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it'll be all, you know, when it's all said and done, there will be no exposed, you know, all the waste will be underneath a minimum
Yeah.
of 2 feet of clean soil.
Trees and grass and
And
all.
planted with trees, grass, shrubs.
Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah, so we have a pay request number 2 from Woodruff that was submitted. We reviewed that. The quantities that they are billing for are all consistent with the level of work, you know, the progress that's been done to date. It does include the required retainage. The amount is, make sure they match, yep, $312,210.42. And I would recommend
I see Mike, you approved it.
Yes, I also reviewed it, and I recommend that it be
I make
approved.
a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Approved.
Okay, before you leave tonight, you need to sign your email. Actually, you should submit a document, but you have to have a written signature. The State Board of Accounts requires the engineer to.
It's on the.
Do you want me to,
Are you on here somewhere?
right there?
Oh,
This is.
I'm sorry, I couldn't read your name.
Oh, that's all right. You want me to write my name above it? Or,
No,
that's me.
As long as you know what it is, as long as, more importantly, Scott knows what it is.
Yeah. Are you saying you need a physical hard copy?
No,
wet
no, no,
signature?
What I'm saying is, it's gotta be signed. I thought there was only the email.
Oh, no, there's a spot for, you know, the
Okay.
engineer.
Doesn't say
you know,
engineer.
Well, it says
Oh, I said
architect. So.
Oh, okay.
He's just questioning whether Kistler's doing his job or not. Everything that Kistler does, he has to meticulously try to find every little mistake that he
Okay.
makes.
Well, he's doing his job.
Yeah, right.
That, on that one I was.
Okay.
The other.
So we good?
It's fine. Oh, yeah, fine.
Thank you, Brian. Very
Yeah,
good.
all set?
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
V3 Engineers, Cheney Run.
That's it. You're up next.
Hi, I'm Ted Gronick, work with V3. I'm the senior design engineer on the Cheney Run Stormwater wetland project. We're at, 70% designs were submitted to the agencies for approval about 2 months ago. We received our core permit on August 1st. An item issued public notice on August 19th, which basically means we've got that permit. It goes through a public waiting period, but that's good news. Right now, we're on schedule to complete the 100% design plans for internal review by the district by the end of September, which puts us on schedule to go to bid in October per the original schedule. And assuming things go well during bidding, we will be on schedule to start construction in mid-November, which is also the schedule. The most recent engineering estimate to complete construction is still within the original budget. So that's good news. And we're almost through the negotiation with GAF to get the parcel donated. We're waiting on what's called a plat of survey, I think is what we need to wrap that up.
Sure.
So.
Who's doing that, the survey?
We're doing it.
You're doing it. Okay,
Yeah,
fine.
it was one of those things that GAF requested after we started the project. So
Yeah.
it's on the schedule for next week, I think. To go do it. Yep.
And we got our permits, did you talk about that, Dennis?
Yeah. You were.
Good.
Yep, so everything's good. We don't have a pay request this month. We messed up our own internal invoicing on our side, so it didn't get issued.
Get it next month.
You'll get it next month.
Okay. Any questions for Ted?
Maybe we'll get 2 next month.
Yeah, I probably will, yeah. You guys got any questions?
Good. Thanks, Ted.
Okay.
Very much.
All right, so-
Very good.
Good job.
John Doyle.
Yeah, sure.
Good afternoon, everyone. On our Fifth Street Alley project, that project has been done since
Okay.
roughly April. So everything's complete there.
And it's signed off, we have a final acceptance and everything,
We can
okay?
take it off the list?
Yeah.
Okay. On the Elk Street project, I had in May, I believe May, had a invoice from D&M for the project for $64,715. At that point in time, I recommended that 20% of that be held back because of, if you recall, the paving situation, and then some minor work with the inverts in the manholes. So he has presented to me in here a request for the balance of his money.
Are there multiple copies in here?
Yeah. Well, there's $12,993, and I would recommend payment of the statement and the acceptance of the project is complete.
Now, we haven't reviewed these before the meeting, John, so I think we'll have to hold these for the next week, for the next meeting. I don't think you sent these to us already, did you?
No, I just got them yesterday.
Yeah, so we have to have it,
All right.
so many days before the meeting, and, we'd have to wait till the next meeting before we can, process this, so we'll probably have to have you give the same speech at the next meeting, before we can sign off.
On the Northbrook project,
Mr. Financial.
that's complete. Woodruff has a pay request in for $36,907.06, and as far as I'm concerned, he's proper, and that project should be considered complete. And the district has reviewed this?
Let me see, I think so. Yes, we have, and it's all good to go.
I make a motion for,
Second.
Discussion in favor?
yes, I,
Approved.
John, is that the last payment on this one?
On Northbrook?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And do you have a certificate of final completion or anything like that for
I
us?
don't have that.
You wanna bring that at the next meeting
Yeah,
then?
we can do that.
Okay.
Alley north of Barker? That alley, that project is complete. I don't have any pay requests from the contractor for that, but it is complete and ready to, that was one where we had house connections.
Has that, been any progress on getting that house connected?
That I do not know.
Do you remember the address of that house? It was 220, does that sound right? No?
That doesn't sound,
Okay.
my understanding was they were gonna connect right away after it was done. So, beyond that, I don't have an answer. Who's responsible for making sure they do that? Is it the
Sanitary district is,
Okay,
when I've been trying to follow up on it and I haven't.
okay.
Getting very, very far, so that's why I asked you.
On the Arthur Street project, that's complete. I do not have a pay request or a certificate of final completion from the contractor.
well, there's some kind of,
Engineering.
engineering.
Yeah, that's for John. Yeah, I have a
So we need to leave Arthur on for the next meeting and maybe you'll have that final pay request?
I would hope so.
Okay, well,
I do have a pay request, on that project for $7,100.
Make a motion, please.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved.
The Suburban Estates, project, that project is complete and has been complete. That was not fully handled through my office, so I do not know if there's been a substantial completion.
My recollection is that we processed all that at some previous meetings a long time ago, because this work that you have this pay request for was done, I wanna say, is a year ago too long?
Yeah,
January?
somewhere in that area, first part of the year.
Yeah.
This is the retained.
This is basically the retainage.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved.
On the Strebel Arm ditch, we have received a project number from the Corps of Army Engineers. We've also been in touch with Mr. Cuss's help with a Paul Leffler from the Army Corps of Engineers. I have been trying to get a hold of Andrew Blackburn without success so far. But he's, it's in the process is all I can say at this point.
Who is that person?
He was for the Army Corps.
Army Corps.
And I heard yesterday that now NIPSCO is delaying the project?
Well, they're not delaying the project, they want to relocate their gas main in that particular area. This is on the south side of the highway, which does not affect sanitary district. And from what I've been told they want to do, it should not impact our south side relocation for the water department, but they, I think they want to piggyback on our permits and so forth, so. But it will not impact.
Free permitting is not.
I think that's about it.
Wow, that's a heck of a deal. I wonder who their lawyer is.
But,
Nice guy.
So, I have a question. The low bidder on that project was Woodruff and Sons?
yes.
And there were two bidders, them and what, Grimmer Construction?
Grimmer, yes.
Correctly?
Mhm.
Okay. And how long are they holding their price for?
In the bid specification, 60 days, so that would be another 30 days from now, basically. And we have the option of extending that if everyone is agreeable to do so at that point in time.
And what if they weren't willing to hold their price still? We have to rebid it or
I
something?
would think we'd have to rebid it.
Okay. And then, cause I'm not confident we're gonna get the Army Corps permit within 30 days, although the ones we got for the, chain run actually came relatively quickly from what we've seen in the past, so you never know.
Okay. And it's not on the agenda, but we have been doing some work on the storm sewer for on Broadway for the fire department for their training facility. I had thought in the beginning that we could connect to the storm sewer in Michigan Boulevard by running a line along the east side of their building and so forth. There's just too much other utility once you get to Michigan Boulevard and what you have to do in order to get to the Shaney Run or get into a storm.
And the drains on the boulevard are dry wells?
Well, not on the boulevard, but there is no storm sewer basically on the boulevard at that point.
Oh.
But the fire facility has dry wells.
But so those drains on the boulevard are not for a storm sewer?
They're not right in that particular area.
Okay.
They're a little bit farther east than where we would be making a connection.
Okay.
So then basically the only way you can get a sewer in that area, in my opinion, at this point in time, would be to run on Broadway either from Carroll all the way down to Risky, or at least from the fire facility site down to Risky Avenue. And in Risky, there's a 21-inch storm line, so you would not have to go south to get into the Shaney.
So what I asked John to do was to take the work, the very limited amount of work that he did with the last proposal engineering agreement that we had with him to do this work, to look at going to the boulevard, and figure out how much he spent on that, which he didn't seem to think it was very much, and then give me a new proposal for doing engineering work to go to Broadway, and I'll take a look at that, and if it's something that I want to move, that I think we should move forward with, and it's in my limits, I might move forward with it. If not, I might bring it to the board, or we can give you an update at the next meeting. There's also some talk about upgrading the parking lot for the fire department. When I'm talking with John today, he seems to think that those are basically two separate projects and really don't tend to mesh. Maybe if we went to the boulevard, maybe they'd mesh a little further, because we're gonna go through the parking lot. And then one thing we might do is we might install a dry well at the parking lot and Broadway, because no matter what we do there, we're gonna put a catch basin in there, potentially a dry well, green infrastructure, as we talk about at our green swag meetings all the time. So we might install that now anyway, with the plans future of connecting that to the storm drain if necessary. So those are just some added information about that. And then update us on the crossing on, I don't know what you were calling it, but the crossing from the US 20.
Pine Tree?
Yeah, Pine Tree Court.
I met with a representative of NDOT with respect to putting a steel sleeve and perhaps the carrier pipe underneath US 20 at Pine Tree Drive in basically Trail Creek. The thought being that while the Highway 20 is under construction, that we could open cut and put the sleeve in. In meeting with them, I have not gone into any permitting process with the state as yet, but they seem willing to go along with it. However, would have to be installed in basically 3 segments as they install their cross pipes.
Traffic management.
Traffic management program, yeah.
So it's not us that needs to do 3 sections, it's because of their work that they're doing on the streets, why we'd have to do 3 sections.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So I'll try to move that along a little bit more and get ready.
Well, what's the schedule of that 20 project? Are they gonna be done this year? It doesn't look like
Have
it.
you gone out there and looked?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Answer your own question.
I do
Well, they were
not know.
supposed to be,
I do
my
not know.
understanding originally.
Well, what I've been told is, we had a month of rain that created quite a few issues for them there, but I don't know what their schedule is at this point.
Okay. Any questions from? Very good, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Haas and Associates.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Good afternoon. Village Road is up first on the agenda, and for that project, I've got several handouts for you. Project overview map. Thanks for your We have a schedule for the project. Cost estimate. So I guess starting with the project overview, in coordinating with the redevelopment commission and the city administration and planning department, and thank you, Mr. Meyer, for all your help with that coordination. The project was narrowed down a couple weeks ago to what you see on that exhibit. So the areas that are bubbled or clouded in red are not included in the project anymore, and it's been limited to the work on Village Road and Crestwood Drive south of Village Road, and in the rear yard easement immediately east of Ohio Street between Village Drive, or Village Road, and South Wind Drive.
Now, just so everybody remembers that this project, along with the paving of Village Road from Ohio Street to 421, is to be paid for by the redevelopment commission with funds left over from the Ohio Street project bond, which is approximately 1.5 million. Nobody really understood or realized how much the project was going to cost, both projects, until the engineer's estimates came in. And then it was realized that to do all the projects and the paving, et cetera, would be a lot more than 1.5 million. So the city administration and redevelopment commission agreed to what's left, I guess you would call it. And it's not shown on here because this isn't paving, but what's left is the paving of Village Road from 421 to Ohio Street, and then the aspects of the drainage project that are now reflected in this drawing that you're seeing.
But some of Village Road has been, oh no, it hadn't been, as Larkspur was done.
Correct.
And so, right, so this project is being done, funded through the redevelopment commission, as Mr. Meyer just pointed out, and we've been coordinating with Global Engineering and Land Surveying regarding the paving work, and this is the final product that we're wrapping up design on now. If you'd like to take a look at the schedule, that's a detailed schedule, and we need it to be detailed because we're running out of weather here and we're coordinating with the paving project, so some of the work on this sewer project needs to be completed in advance of the Global Engineering Redevelopment Commission paving project. So that's why this is a little bit more detailed of schedule than normal. The schedule, hopefully the weather cooperates, and relocation of existing utility by NIPSCO. There's gas mains that will need to be relocated, gas services, water services, but that can be done by the contractor that does the underground sewer work. But then there's also some water main services, so we're coordinating with both of those utilities, the water department and NIPSCO, regarding relocation of their utilities, and that their work will be required in order to meet this schedule. Their work will have to be done in a timely fashion, which isn't always possible. But at this point in time, we're hopeful, and we're trying to get them on board to get some relocation work done. The base bid for the project would have all work completed this year by about the end of November. But we're also, that would be substantial completion. But then we also are providing an alternate item for the contractors to offer a deduct, lump sum deduct, if the time of completion is extended into next spring. We're not sure how busy all the contractors are at this point in time to complete work between basically October, November. So if they're all booked, prices might be kind of high. That's why we're suggesting to give an alternate to extend the schedule in case that, so you can see if that lowers the price.
So how are we gonna extend the schedule if the paving has to be done?
Well, the paving in that area
Just wouldn't get done?
wouldn't get done, yeah. Some of the paving on Village.
And I notice on here, we're gonna have to have two special meetings, one on the September 16th and one on September 18th.
Yes, let's see, September 16th is for bid opening. I don't, that's up to you whether you have a board meeting. It has to be a public meeting.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a commissioners meeting, but sometimes boards like yourselves like to make that be an official meeting. So that's your call.
Yeah, well, we can do, I'm just saying, I'm just putting a notice out to the board members that it's a couple special meetings there. Sometimes we've done those at noon, just to make it easier if that works.
And then what was the other special meeting, Michael?
The 18th,
18 to award.
awarded.
9/18 award, right, and the reason again for these special meetings and the accelerated schedule is because of late in the year.
I understand, yeah. I
Okay.
just wanted to make sure the board members were aware of that schedule, that we're gonna have basically 3 meetings in September, it looks like. The 16th, the 18th for special meetings, and then our normal meeting on the 26th, I wanna say. 25th. Yeah.
And that meeting, hopefully on the 25th, will be, you'd be giving notice to proceed to the contractor.
Yep.
So, let's see, one of the first items on this.
Do we have to give notice to proceed?
Yeah.
No, I mean, we approve the bid.
If you select the contractor, you can authorize a notice to proceed to be issued at that time.
Yeah, okay.
And, you know. I get, just so everybody also understands, you'll notice that for there's different colors on here, light blue, and I don't know, it looks purple to me, but I don't know that that's the right color. And it's the option 3 and option 2. Those will be billed, there'll be a gross, I'm gonna say, total package bid, and there'll be alternates for, because nobody, I mean, we have engineers' estimates, but we don't know what the bids are gonna be. And in the long run, we gotta stay at or near that 1.5 million. So if the bids come in too high, there'll be, there'll be all bids for each of those alternates, options, I should say, and one or more of them would have to be deleted if the bid is too high.
Mm-hmm. And I'll talk about that briefly when we look at the cost estimate. Regarding the schedule, the first add to bid, we're proposing it to be, let's see, we've got.
1st of September.
What am I looking at here?
Sunday?
Yeah. I'm looking at an old schedule.
That's September 1st.
Yeah, September 1st, that's what we're proposing for the first add bid. Oh, yeah, I was looking at the global project, yes, September 1st. So in order to make that happen this Sunday, we would need to get the legal ad into the News Dispatch probably early tomorrow, and I know it's late notice, Jim, but we sent that for your review just this afternoon, the ad to bid.
I haven't been in my office.
No, I know. One thing that maybe could help right off the bat is it typically 5% or 10% bid bond for sanitary district projects?
I think 10%.
10% would be.
We may want to make it 5% in this case to keep the cost down.
Okay.
I would,
Sure. Okay. Sounds good.
All right.
It's just a bid bond, it's not
Right.
performance or payment bond.
Yeah. All right, then, if you'd like, we could take a look at the
Could you
cost,
copy anybody else at the district on this,
the notice. of
yeah. Let's say we could print it out for him now, he could have it in his hand, so he can review it maybe before he leaves.
Actually, yeah, it was sent to Mr. Meyer and Mr. Cuss.
All right, I'll forward it to Kissler, he can print it out then right now. Okay, go ahead.
All right, then, looking at the cost.
Are the final design completed?
No, we're still in design.
Okay, so how are they gonna bid?
Well, we've got tonight, Saturday, Sunday,
I
Monday,
mean, it says the pre-bid meeting is gonna be on the 9th, if I read this correctly.
yeah.
Or maybe it's the 10th. Obviously, they'll have to have the design done several days at least before.
Oh, yeah, our intent is on Tuesday morning, which is really the first business day after they add to bid, that we will have documents ready to distribute.
Okay, but they have to be reviewed and approved by the district.
District, yeah. Yeah, it's an accelerated schedule, there's no
Yes,
doubt about that.
no option.
Yeah. Okay, looking at the project cost summary, this summary was made actually based off a preliminary design on August 8th. So, it totals, for a total project cost of 1.123 million. We know that the redevelopment commission has capped their contribution at 950,000. So for that reason,
Oh, you mean to this?
yeah, for this part of the
Total project
two projects.
1.5.
Yeah, that includes the paving work by Global Engineering. And so for the sewer project, the storm drainage project, it's 950,000. So
Well, that's assuming that the drainage, that the asphalt or the paving project comes in at whatever the estimated cost is.
yeah.
If that comes in cheaper, there'll be more money available for the drainage.
If it comes in higher, it'll be less for the drainage.
Well, then they'll have to decide which one they would rather have, the drainage or the paving.
You gotta do the drainage before you do the paving.
Well, I mean, the rest of the village road.
Yeah.
So,
So anyways, your estimate's 1.123 million for the
Right.
work that we've got here, and we'll have to see where it comes in on bid.
and that's why I'm tying in with what Mr. Meyer said about
Sometimes they
that.
come in higher, sometimes they come in lower.
Yeah, and there's alternates. So you would have, if it did come in higher or more than you were willing to spend, you could eliminate option 3 and bring it down to within the budget that you have.
We understand that, thank you.
Okay. All right.
Tim, when you get done here today, or maybe if you're done, I could talk to you. I want to talk to you just a little bit about something about this project. I don't want to waste everybody's time here, but there's something I need to talk to you about the Crestwood area, okay?
Okay, certainly. So, I guess, we talked about schedule, cost estimate, the need for the advertisement to bid,
So we're still on Village Road, right?
the south, yeah, village.
Okay, there's
We have a pay application in
Yeah.
for engineering
yeah,
in the amount of about $12,000.
$12,411.55.
It's been reviewed by the district, and we find it acceptable.
Make motion approved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay,
Okay.
Long Beach.
And, well, we have your permission to go ahead and work towards having the advertisement to bid in the paper?
Yes, you have our permission.
Okay, thank you.
If I'm allowed to say that, I don't know.
We have to have Jim's,
You can always bid.
No, I guess maybe he's asking the board for, if I'm going to think about it.
Unfortunately, I have this on this ad. Currently, it states that the special meeting for opening bids would be at 4:00 on September 16th. Do you prefer to have it at noon?
I prefer to have it at noon. It's fine.
It's up to you.
well, it doesn't make any difference, I'm always here.
Noon?
Yeah, I'm good.
Noon on a Monday is tough if you're a bidder. Noon on a Monday is tough.
No, this isn't.
16th's a Monday, isn't it?
Correct.
Yes.
Just saying.
Okay. That's a good point.
Whatever you want,
Let's do 4:00 then, leave it at 4:00. He's got a good point.
Okay.
Maybe we should have a formal, Jim, should we have a formal vote by the board to put it out for bid? Because I can put the project out for bid.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. I'm trying to read it.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Yeah, as long as Mr. Meyer approves that. Second.
Second, all in favor? Aye.
All right.
Approved.
All right, and then we had an amendment, number 3, and did you want the board to formally approve that, Michael, or you had a signature?
Your side already signed it.
Yeah.
I think it's all fine.
Okay. That concludes the report for Village Road and Southgate.
Thank you very much for all your hard work on that.
Yeah.
Said I want to talk to you a little bit about Crestwood.
Thanks.
Okay, Jim, you're gonna talk about Long Beach or something? Is that what, I didn't know. You were just here to support them, or?
No, I'm here to talk about the 3 alternatives being considered for sanitary sewer on Lakeshore Drive and for its entire length in Long Beach are the same as were considered in your sanitary sewer capacity analysis completed in February of this year, which considered the district facilities for receiving these flows and what the costs would be to upgrade. So the alternatives are the same. They are a pressure sewer with grinder pumps that are owned, operated, and maintained by each property owner, and the pressure sewer pumps to the east and to the west both. Also a gravity sewer with 3 lift stations, 1 that pumps to the west, 2 that pump to the east. And a sanitary sewer with the same 3 lift stations with all 3 pumping to the east. The sanitary sewer alternative is favored by the Lakeshore Drive residents based on a town survey that was performed. The sanitary sewer with 3 lift stations all pumping to the east is the recommended alternative because the cost of district facility upgrades is less if everything is pumped to Moore Road than if some of it is pumped west on Lakeshore Drive. So that, and what we are doing in the PER now is considering the cost of these 3 alternatives. And so I have a handout also. The first, we've worked with district personnel on these 3 lift stations. The lift station to the west will be located just south of the pavement and up against a property that's not developed and is actually, it is developed, but it's a long property and the home is on a back street and access to the home is on the back street, so we're not affecting anybody's access to Lakeshore Drive with this. And this is the first drawing. Basically, your district personnel came up with this neat idea to have sliding gates that meet at the corner so that this station can be accessed off of Lakeshore Drive, that your vehicles can pull off the road and access this station. Being off the road, you're only working in a 15-foot wide right-of-way south of the pavement.
Perfect.
So that's been approved. The second drawing shows a modification to this option. It's a smaller fenced-in area. By the way, it's a privacy security fence, 6 feet high. So it hides everything in the station. And in the first option, everything is inside the fence. Wet well, dry well, controls, generator. In this second option, this is for the east lift station. It's a little smaller fenced-in area. The wet well is outside of it. And it does not have the sliding gates that meet at the corner. It has
Regular opening.
it has regular gates.
How we can access the wet well if we need to access the wet well again?
It's outside.
No problem.
No problem, because of the next drawing. Well, this lift station will go in the intersection of Moore Road and Lakeshore Drive.
Okay.
And the next drawing is an aerial photo of that intersection, showing the pavement and also the 3 painted crosswalks.
Right.
From each side of Moore Road across to the north side of Lakeshore Drive, and then across Moore Road just south of Lakeshore Drive. And then the next drawing shows what we plan to do in this intersection. The lift station within the privacy security fence is in that real tightly cross-hatched area, and it's labeled on this drawing. We would put it right up against a nice retaining wall that the property owner has built. So we don't have to worry about any kind of a retaining wall. We would put a curb on Lakeshore Drive, bring it out, and then have a stop sign intersection, continue that curb down Moore Road, and district vehicles could pull in off of Lakeshore Drive, pull alongside the lift station, actually pull over the wet well if they wanted. The wet well would have to have ductile iron access hatches rather than aluminum because the vehicles can drive over them. So, but you could access that way and you could pull out onto Moore Road. You don't have to back out. It's a drive-through access. The initial idea here was rejected by district personnel because of lack of safety from vehicles. Well, we think this meets that concern. There'll be a curb all the way. We've revised the intersection, as you can see. We thought as part of this island created for this lift station, we would intercept the crosswalk across Moore Road, bring it onto the island, and run it straight over Lakeshore Drive to the north side. So we're basically eliminating the west crosswalk shown on this aerial photo, and the Long Beach town officials we're working with have all okayed this option. So
So you just need our approval from our maintenance staff and from our engineers on the approval of these couple modifications that you've made to the
Yes.
second lift station and the third lift station.
Yes.
And they look good to me, but we'll get together on that. That's not quite as urgent, I don't believe, as the Village Road stuff, so,
Absolutely.
you know, we can maybe push that off till, you know, maybe noon on tomorrow instead of 9 o'clock a.m.
That'd be great. Okay, if you would,
We'll get a meeting together and we'll get Kevin and Darren and Steve and John involved and we'll look it over and give you our blessing or tell you what we want you to change.
Okay.
Hopefully sometime very soon, okay?
Okay. Now, one other thing. The middle lift station for Lakeshore Drive will be at St. Lawrence Avenue, which is, if you know, where the old pumping station for Long Beach's water system used to be.
Yeah, sure.
And there's significant right-of-way available on St. Lawrence, just south of Lakeshore Drive. So the district officials that have reviewed this have said that there they would like a standard layout for a district station. And so I need to, the last station we did for the district was Ohio Street. Is that still the standard?
Yeah, but we can talk about that. Let's just talk about that in-house a little bit, because I thought we had already talked about some deviations to meet some concerns that Long Beach had, so before we go doing a standard, let's just talk about it tomorrow or next day and we can talk about it, okay? It's a public meeting, okay? I mean, it's just, you're getting into the nitty-gritty here that I don't think we need to have 3 board members talking about unless you guys want to go over every detail of them, lift station.
Oh, I love it, but
Yeah.
not at the public
All right.
expense.
Okay.
We had made some agreements with Long Beach about the stations and stuff, so. Okay?
And there's an engineering request for money?
Yes.
Did you have anything else then, Mr. Mauer, other than the pay request?
If we can get this decisions on these lift stations, we can complete the cost estimate and complete the PER, get it reviewed by the town and the district and submit it to item for a preliminary approval. And if everything went smoothly, possibly at your September meeting, September 25th, you could authorize a public hearing for the PER. That's if everything goes smoothly, which...
If not, October.
If not, well, the public hearing would be in October, but you would authorize it. You folks, it's your public hearing since we're working for you on this.
Okay.
I would recommend, though, that you conduct that public hearing in Long Beach. They have some nice areas in the old Long Beach School. We've already held a public meeting there, or they have, regarding this
Last
project.
time we were there, we had the public meeting about SciTech, remember, Mr. Meyer? We had to hear about it, nothing could be done.
Okay.
So that's my recommendation there. So that gives you a little look forward as to,
Now, much of this construction work can be done almost any time of the year, correct?
we're thinking it's gonna have to be limited to fall, winter, and spring because of the busyness of Lakeshore Drive
Oh, okay.
in the summer.
All right. Well,
So I think that's
but
what Mike was trying to get at, we wouldn't have to wait till summer to do the work, right?
yeah, well, I mean, yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
There's not that much paving to do.
Oh, well, no, there is. Yeah.
Well, we got the sewer too.
I don't think, we haven't, under design,
Yeah.
we'll determine how much the sewer has to be in the street, in the pavement, but based on what we know already, I think it's gonna basically be in the street.
Okay.
See anywhere else it's gonna really go.
Is there a motion to approve this,
I'll make a motion.
for, $3,852.50? Made. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Done. Excellent.
Do you have any update on the North End study at all?
Yeah, we're ready to, we're gonna begin the manhole investigation, structure investigations next week.
Okay, very good.
Have the meters been installed and or are they operating?
I don't think that the meters were,
Mr.
as
Meyer, we
far
have
as I
2
know.
meters deployed, and I have parts in my office that deployed the second 2.
Okay,
Oh,
thank you.
Anything else for, Cox? Thank you, gentlemen.
thank you very much. Michael, about Crestwood, did you want to?
Yeah, you gotta go right away?
I have another meeting at 5:30.
Could I, you have another meeting at 5:30? Well, I don't know. I guess maybe I can talk to you tomorrow about it. Can I call you on your cell phone later tonight or tomorrow?
Yeah, it'd be
Yeah,
great.
I'll call you on your cell phone, talk to you about it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Michael?
Energy savings report, that's in front of you. Got the data highlighted for August. Based on the calculated rate, we saved about $3,000 from the average. August is a little bit unique because last August we actually did not save any money. We actually increased our usage by $3,000. I think we had a lot of rain or something last August, if I remember correctly, but might have also been before we started turning down the lower capacities a little bit too. But we're still on pace. If you look at the last page, we're still on pace to save, $50,000, $60,000 a year. Annual average savings on kilowatt hours is 579,744 kilowatts per hour. Average annual savings is about 13.2% when you use the calculated rate. I'm thinking about just taking off that middle column, middle set of numbers, because this is the actual billing. But some of the billing in 2016 was on that old rate that was cheaper, so I don't really know why we'd want to compare it to the old rate that was cheaper. We want to compare it to the rate we're paying now, so. So we're looking at about 13.28% savings, and first year operations, we saved $62,000 if you look at it for the first year. So I don't know what the third page is telling me, not too much. I don't know what you think there, Will, about the third page, but.
Yeah, I was trying to figure that one out myself.
All right, so it's still going very well. I still have a lot of the underlying tables. I've been keeping up with those, with the blowers and the peak capacities, and I've been doing all that, keeping up with that, but I didn't print it out each month. It's kind of redundant, okay? The other thing I wanted to say is that, if you remember, we had that University of Chicago audit that we had, and one of the things they recommended was installing capacitors, and we installed the capacitors, and they were operational on August 15th. So that should get our power factor rating up to 95%, because every time we're below 95%, we pay a penalty. And again, this last month, we were at, I don't know if it's on this page or not, we were at, I think, 93% on the power factor. So we hit it 2 months, I wanna say December and January or something like that, we hit the 95%, but those were about the only 2 months we've hit it for a long time. So I'm really hoping to see some substantial savings from the installation of those capacitors, and if we get the kind of savings that we were purported to get, I think they'll pay for themselves in about 15 months or 13 months, something like that. So I think it'll be pretty good. And that's the other forms that I have that I didn't print today. They look at the peak ratings and stuff. So transformer and cable. The company that did the capacitors highly recommended that we get our transformer oil tested, because I guess we never had it tested, and actually he was kind of freaking out about it. He was like, man, you've never had it tested, oh my god, this could be a major problem. They came out, sampled it, tested it. I don't believe we have the results yet, but they said that it looked fantastic, the results were fantastic, we didn't have any problems with our transformer oil, so that was really good news.
How big are those transformers?
I don't know, we have like, what, 5 or 7 of them, something like that? I don't know how big is, so, you know, they run different parts of the plant. And then we have these cables, these electrical cables that run, I think, underground and through conduit and stuff, and they're basically saying that we need to have those tested, and that was substantially more than the transformer testing. I want to say it was like $16,000 to $20,000 just to have those tested, if I remember correctly. And I just told him it just seemed too expensive to do, and so I told him maybe we do it in 2020. He was emailing me yesterday saying you really need to do that, and if you don't believe me, get a second opinion. So I'm thinking it's something we might want to put on a capital projects list or something for next year. Any questions about the energy?
Normally, you check the transformers yearly. How often do they say in the cables?
You know, that's what that guy said, the same thing. He said that once a year. We checked with our insurance company, and our insurance company said they have absolutely no requirement to how often we test them. But, you know, they thought once a year would be good. But, I mean, if it's been since, what, 87 that they were put in? So if they were put in 87 and they've never been tested, and they tested out really good now, I'd probably say every other year or every 3 years would probably be enough. But, you know, if you have some other...
Well, that's why I was asking how big they were, because sometimes the transformer gets overloaded and yeah, and it can start breaking down the oil, and then you get gas buildup.
Yeah, that's what he was talking about, yeah. So, we'll look at it. I'll talk to this Terry McGill, who did the testing from McGill Electric. He's out of Lafayette, Indiana, so, you know, we can get a schedule on that. Any other questions on energy savings? Bagley cleaners, Concord cleaners. Basically, the status update there is that August Mac did some more groundwater testing. Apparently, there was some concerns there in this lawsuit or something about trying to pay for the cleanup, and there were some areas where they needed some more delineation. We sent out some letters to a bunch of homes. They put those at a couple of homes' property, but really it was right on the edge of their property in like alleyways and stuff, so it didn't affect anything too much. And then they came back and did some more on actual city property. So I don't know what the results of those are, but I do believe the negotiations with the lawyers for the redevelopment commission, I believe they're going well. So hopefully that'll get taken care of. And of course, when we did all the indoor monitoring, there were no problems with anybody's homes. So as I've reported before, any other questions there? Ohio Street project is still not final signed off on yet. Mr. Gorsica's latest engineering report is in there, which I think was from the end of July. He hasn't done one in the last couple of weeks, just because in talking to him, he said that really nothing has changed since his July report. I know John's getting somewhat frustrated because he would like to see this report get completed and signed off on, but for some reason there's things that just aren't getting done. So, any other questions on Ohio Street? Digester gas, the biggest item there is the last couple bullet items under B. We have a electrical contract was awarded to Marcus Electric. We talked about it at our last meeting, or last couple meetings, about how there was some miscommunication there in our request for quotes, whether or not it included all work or just all electrical work. They put the bid together, signed the contract, blah, blah, blah. As I've said before, they questioned this and had some concerns. They came in, spoke with myself and Mr. Stanford and our attorney, Mr. Meyer, and we basically agreed that the contract was the contract and the quotes was a little vague. So We worked out an agreement, the things that they would do, but we needed to send out another request for quotes for mechanical. As you know, we got no quotes at the last meeting, so we contacted all the people that we sent the request to quotes to and said to them, look, if you want to send a quote in, send it to us soon. And they all said no, they don't want to send one in, or they didn't respond or said they didn't want to, except one, which was Arctic Engineering. And they did send a quote in, and then we think it's reasonable and we think it's acceptable to us. So we worked on this contract, which is in your packet, for them to do the work. And we would like to get your approval for this work. Sorry, the total amount escapes me. What page is the amount on Stanford, do you know?
I think it's 3 and it's $62,000.
$62,000. And we would like to get your approval to do this work so we can finish up this digester gas project.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Back.
All in favor? Aye. Approved.
Thank you
What
very
was so difficult that the mechanical contractors didn't want to get involved?
I don't know.
Busy.
Fair.
Got that much work, I suppose.
Let's see, one guy told me that, one just said they didn't want to bid at all. It was a local firm. Another company said that there was something about if it was some additional type of piping and stuff that they would have put a bid in, but since there wasn't this additional type of piping, they weren't going to be able to beat anybody's bids or the quote or whatever, so they just decided they didn't want to do it. They're a pretty big firm, so I guess that's why. And then Arctic, they finally put something in. Why they didn't do it before, I think he said he was too busy and he just didn't get it done. Any other questions there?
No.
White ditch cleaning project, we had a request for quotes, which I believe was approved and so forth, but we found out now that some of the work is gonna be in wetlands, so we need to do a wetlands delineation, and we've contracted with our same firm that's been doing our wetlands delineation work. Weaver Consulting, Ed Stefanik has been our go-to guy for doing that. He's done a really nice job for everything else, so I signed off on a contract recently for, I don't know what it was, $5,100 or something like that.
Right around that, yeah.
To do for wetland delineation, and then we're gonna have to get an Army Corps permit, and then after we get the Army Corps permit, then we'd be able to proceed maybe with that project. Any questions there?
No.
Sewer maintenance and letter policy, as you know, at the last board meeting, we had a lot of discussion about this, and we agreed to update the policy, and we've made very, very little progress on that, and there's really not worth bringing to you to report, but hopefully we can have an updated policy for you by the next meeting. Keep your fingers crossed. Okay? All right, personnel, we got a few things on personnel. Number one is I've temporarily reassigned Jim Michaels, who is our Assistant Superintendent of Collections, to work for the most part in the refuse department. I know I promised myself that I wasn't going to bother him with wastewater, stormwater stuff, but then I called him today and said, can you meet us on Streeble Pond, because we wanted to look at Streeble Pond. So, but he's doing a nice job over there, actually. They haven't had a superintendent over there for, I don't know how long, 4 or 5 years now, I want to say, since Mr. Kinsel retired. And right away, he was looking at the routes and different things with the vehicle maintenance and so other things that he mentioned to me. So I really think it shows that that's going to be a good switch for a while. My plan, we'll see how it goes. My plan is to probably keep him over there, maybe not to the end of winter, but maybe through the leaf cleaning season. One of the things, as you guys know, we have all those leaf vacs that we bought, and the leaf pickup is, it's a job. It really is, and the sanitary district is deeply involved. While the refuse department, when they do their routes, they're usually done with the route, if you will, pickups, sometime maybe between 2 and 2:30, 1:30, maybe even 2:30. So we can get some work out of those guys after they get done with their routes, picking up leaves. But that's where we really need better coordination of the men. So I think Jim could help with that. IT technician in training, you approved that pay increase for Miss Nicole. And we have now created a position of IT technician in training and I believe we've worked up a job description and all that. The next thing that I have is a request. It's in your packet. It's a memo that I wrote. I don't really want to read the whole memo because it's, you know, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs long. The first paragraph's like a half a page. But if you just look at the list of all the things that I put down here that we're trying to work on between me and Mr. Stanford and our engineers, it's just a bevy of projects and different things, and combining that, you know, really with the lead committee that I'm chairman of and the brownfields that I'm basically doing almost all the work for the brownfields that's being done in the city on that, and all the work I'm doing on the Bagley cleaners and stuff. I'm getting some help with that, but definitely taking the lead. It's falling further and further behind every day, and we've got a lot of major projects going on. You saw our commitment here today with Mr. Doyle's list and the Cheney Run and the Carwick and all the stuff that Tim Haas is working on. So I really believe we could use another engineer, and what I've done is taken our construction crew leader job, which we have left unfilled since the untimely passing of Mr. Morris, and one of our open maintenance jobs, laborer positions, put those together. I think that would cover the cost of an engineer, so I'm asking for the approval to advertise for another engineer for the district at the engineer 2, which is the lower level of the 2 engineers' pay. And so if I could get approval for that, I'd really appreciate it.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Yeah, I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. Good to go.
Okay, next thing that I did was I have a memo in here about assistant foreman for refuse department. I don't consider having a gym over there or a superintendent over there. Financially, it's probably not really doable in the long run. And I think when you do a foreman's job, when you're working in an entire city like this, you know, 5 miles, what is it, 25 mile square area at least probably for city of Michigan City, where you got guys out. I don't know that one guy can handle all that, so I'd like to promote or like to create a position of assistant refuse foreman, and have a memo on that, and the pay for that would be $19 an hour, and I'm asking for your approval.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion first.
Second?
I'll second.
Approved.
Okay, and then I've got an approved, I'd like a new organizational chart that I put in for there. That shows the second engineer 1 position. Excuse me, that should be engineer 2. Because in the engineering department, the 1s are the highest, so that should be 2 engineer 2s. And then we're going to have the 4 IT techs now, but the 1 will be paid as an IT tech in training. That's the red mark there for the 4. We're going to get rid of the IT tech 1, or IT tech 2, so we're not going to have a 1 and a 2 level, just all the same level with the 1 underfilling in training. Added the assistant refuse foreman and took away 1 of the drivers, so we're not adding another driver. It's just going to be 1 of the foreman will probably be doing some driving. And then removed the construction crew leader that I discussed about under under collections, and took the laborers down from 2 to 1. So I have asked for approval for this revised organizational chart.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
With the change of the engineer 1 to 2.
Aye. Approved.
And then the next thing that we have is, I talked about the job duties and the pay rate. Next thing that we have then is a new approved salary resolution. The only thing that's different on here, and it's highlighted, I think it's the only thing different. I guess the 2 things we already talked about were the network technician in training and the assistant foreman. But one of the things that we're finding is that our program and application developer position is really, the duties are significantly increasing. I don't have a memo on this or nothing, but the duties are significantly increasing. The person that's in that position is doing just a remarkable job, keeping up with everything, with all the new software, financial software that's been implemented. We call it New World is the name of the software, is really the go-to person for all that type of work. And also, I know Spike knows about this, we're trying to get a new website up and running, and this person has, originally it was each department head was going to be responsible for updating all the website information, which I thought was kind of pie in the sky idea, because I didn't really know how every different department head was gonna be able to do this, so Caleb took on that role and took care of all that too. His name's Caleb Goodwin, he's our assistant program director, so, we found basically that there's a need to increase his pay, and we are asking board approval to increase his pay to $53,000 a year as a salary position. So that, with the network technician and with the assistant foreman are on this new salary resolution. I don't believe there's any other changes. So I'm asking for board approval. Sure.
Quick question, under collection department, is the construction and storm crew leader need to be omitted?
What I'd like to do, if it's okay, is I'd like to just to leave it on there in case we ever added it back in. We don't have to do the pay, but it's not on the organizational chart, so we wouldn't be able to, I wouldn't be able to hire somebody for that without your approval of changing the organizational chart.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve resolution 1408-19?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
All in favor? Aye.
Okay, anything else on the questions about personnel stuff I went over? Okay, the next thing is the blue swag reports are in your packets. A lot here. I added up all the grant money that we've received, and it's a lot of grant money. I updated the summary, but I didn't print it out for this meeting, so I'll try to print it out for the next meeting. You remember what the total was, Mr. Meyer? You looked at that. Total grant money that we had received?
No.
Anyways, it's a lot, and we're, really doing a lot of great things with this grant money, and we appreciate the people that are giving us the grants, and we appreciate your support. So read through that blue swag report. I'm not gonna go through all of it. There was also a Great Lakes, Alliance for the Great Lakes, invoice in here for a total of $15,599.85, and I'm asking for board approval. Huh?
There's one for $13,300.
Yeah, there's
There's two, one's blue swag and
one's blue swag and one's Cheney Run.
I'm sorry, first one is $13,309.71 for the Great Lakes for the
Is there a
Alliance.
motion?
It has to be approved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay.
And then on our Sustain Our Great Lakes grant, I'm asking for your approval for $15,599.85.
Motion? Second. Approved? Aye.
Okay, thank you. And then past that, we've got the annual reports are in your packets, or not the annual reports, the monthly reports.
Standard equipment rates is approved of schedule.
Yeah, I have that here, but I don't. Mr. Meyer? If you would take one and pass it along. Steve, this is for you to follow along with. The sanitary district at times is called on to do work. There are instances where the sanitary district must perform work for private or governmental entities and then recover the costs of such work. Examples include sewer lateral cleaning, debris pickup, and demolition work. However, the district does not have established billing rates for use of its equipment. The purpose of this memorandum is to establish billing rates for use of sanitary equipment. Let me give you an example. We had a hotel in town, and their lateral was overflowing sewage out to the creek, okay? And we show up, and it's all clogged up, and it's not flowing. And, yeah, we could sit there and say, you got to get a contractor out here, you take care of this, you call the state. We just got on it, we cleaned it, we send them a bill for doing their work because, that's doing work for them. We're not going out and doing private work. It's just when there's an emergency or a health issue, like something like that, we feel it's better to jump on it and get it fixed and get the problem fixed, and we send them a bill. We do have some rates established that we've been using in the past for our Vector truck and so forth like that, but we didn't have a lot of rates. We also, you guys know sometimes there's these huge dump piles that we have to pick up and do different things like that, and we know who the owners are. We call them special pickups. We would want to use it for that, and then also demolition work. Sometimes we're asked to pick up a garage that's been demolished, or even demolish the garages or something. Mr. Meyer has worked on a really good procedure with legal documents and everything for just fill in and sign, and we don't have a rate schedule, so that's where sometimes we do this work, okay? So I did a lot of research on this. I could only find two sources. One was FEMA and one was Ohio DOT, but I also noticed a lot of times Ohio DOT was really just using the FEMA rate. So I put together a table 1, which lists out the Ohio rate and the DOT rate, or Ohio DOT rate and the FEMA rate, and then I took the average rate of those and used that for the district rate. Couple exceptions where they didn't have something on there like TV cameras and stuff. I just used my best judgment from other equipment, and it also, if we're using an automobile, this would not happen, but if somebody had a problem and we had to transport people in an automobile outside the city of Michigan City and we had to cover a rate for that, I just used the standard IRS mileage rate instead of the FEMA rate or the Ohio DOT rate. So that's the first table, shows you the comparison, and then the second table is a table that would show our standard rates. And then behind that is these FEMA rates, and if you look at FEMA, for instance, for like they'll have like on page, I guess their third page, if you will, for the FEMA, halfway down in the middle, they've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, like 8 or 12 different dozers listed with different prices for every different size dozer. So what I had was my maintenance people go through and match up with the size dozer that matched ours the best, and that's the price I used in that comparison table. And I did that throughout here.
How about the tugboat?
Yeah, tugboat, we don't have a tugboat, but we do have a rowboat and we do have a runabout boat, so I put both of those on there too. As you do know, years ago, we spent a lot of time, we weren't really asked to do it. We just did it on our own, helping out the state of Indiana when they had that glitter substance out on the lake, could we have looked at reimbursement or something? Maybe we could have, but we got the rates for the boats now if that would ever come up. So I put all these rates on here. I also asked Mr. Woodruff from Woodruff Construction if he would give me a list of the rates that he uses for his equipment. I didn't include it in this memo, but I can tell you that one of the things about the chart he gave me is lists out pieces of equipment, but I don't know exactly what those pieces are or how big they are and so forth. But like for the dozers and for his excavators, the rates that I have on here, are usually almost always a little less than the rates that he has for his equipment. And I think, adds a little more validity to these values. So I'm asking for board approval of this standard rate schedule that we could use. And if at some point in time we find something better or we want to change it, we could always come to you and change it. But until such time, I'd like to get approval of this.
I have a question on the second page of the sanitary district.
Mm-hmm.
It's got the TV camera.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any numbers there.
Okay, that's my fault. I left that out. It's supposed to be, I believe, if you look at the other table, thank you for catching that. It's supposed to be $50 an hour or $1.14 per mile.
Okay, is there approval of the sanitary district equipment rates with the addition of $50 an hour? Or, wait a minute, what did I say?
It would be $50 an hour and $1.14. If it's in, the one thing about the mileage rates, we're not gonna charge any mileage if it's within Michigan City or like Trail Creek or Potawatomi Park or adjacent areas, but again, rarely would we do this, but if we went to some other city to use it, and then I also put a caveat on here that at the general manager's discretion,
Right.
if it's something that's out of cooperation, for instance, if LaPorte has a major issue with one of their sewers and we go down there, are we really gonna charge LaPorte, giving them certain assistance, we may want to, but we could maybe also want to waive something like that since it's intergovernmental cooperation, but that's when you would charge the mileage on top of the hourly rate.
I approve.
Second. What was the mileage? It was $1.14 a mile.
All right, approved.
A mile for the camera, for the TV camera for the truck.
Meaning they have to measure a mile?
No, if we drove the driving of the vehicle down there. If we drove 50 miles outside of Michigan City, we would charge $1.14 plus the hourly rate. And also, Spike, you missed the push camera rates, not on that table either. You have to go back to the other table.
Where's that?
Third from the bottom of it.
Push camera rate was supposed to be $15 an hour. So let's add that on there too.
Oh, you're right. $15 an hour
Yeah,
and the mileage?
there's no mileage on the push camera.
Okay. Sorry.
It's okay.
Where do you see the other camera?
The push camera is like 1, 2, 3, the fourth from the bottom. Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So I'm asking for your approval of this.
We already did.
We did.
As amended.
Thank you for filling in the blanks.
There you go.
District projects are here, or district monthly reports are here. Is there any questions about any of those?
They're working hard.
I got Mr. Milanovich's report here. He didn't get it to us in time for the packets, but it's here now. Here you go, Spike. And, one thing on Mr. Milanovich's report, I don't know if he has it in his report or not, but with reference to the operations, as you guys may know if you follow the news, we had an issue on the 27th of July, 26th and 27th of July. We have a screen, we use our treated water to create a vacuum to feed our chlorine and our SO2 gas. And we have a little screen that we screen this water with, just to, the system doesn't get clogged up, and every couple of weeks or so, they have to take, a minute or two and clean this screen off. Well, when they do that, they have to shut down the system. The operator that was in charge did not turn the system back on. And it wasn't found until the morning of the 27th when we went to do our E. coli test and our residual chlorine. There was no residual chlorine at the end of the contact tank, and their E. coli was too numerous to count. So we notified the Michigan City beaches right away. We also notified downstream users, National Park, this and that via email, and we immediately started doing additional testing. Because you test more often than required by the permit, which is only one time a day, we ended up testing 3 times a day. We have to use all the data to determine our daily value, and we've done that and submitted our report. We really, we did not have a numeric effluent limit violation, but we certainly had a bypass, which is certainly a violation of our permit, which we reported to the state promptly and followed up with our new SOPs that we put in place to make sure that this never happens again, including reading the weights on the gas tanks. We have these 2-ton cylinders of gas, which we're only reading once a night on midnight. The thought is the midnight operator, when he read that, should have noticed that instead of using the normal amount of gas, it was only like, half the gas or a quarter of the gas that we normally use. But there was really no SOP in place. And then, how these things always happen, the operator that was working midnight really never usually works midnight, and he does sometimes, but rarely. He was filling in for the normal midnight operator, so maybe he wasn't as used to it. Could have caught it a little sooner. Now we're checking those weights every 4 hours, and then we're also doing a test of the chlorine to make sure. We have these little wheel kits that you can do. It's not super precise, but you can tell whether or not you put a couple drops of this DPD solution in, and the thing will turn like bright pink. And if it doesn't turn bright pink, you got a problem. So we're doing that kind of stuff. It's actually a little wheel kit that you can look at a color wheel, and usually I'm looking up because you look at it through a light, so you can tell different shades of the pink. Tells you how much chlorine you have. So we're starting to do that more often. So that was a major issue. Not going to get into the specifics of it, but there was a disciplinary action handed down to the operator for this failure, because this was major situation.
Are there operation manuals that are there that?
There was not an operation manual and SOP on how to do this cleaning, but now there is.
No, but there's generally an operations manual that if you're not familiar with what you're doing, you've got this manual to
The
look
person
through?
that was doing it was extremely familiar with what he was doing, he just never turned it back on,
Okay.
okay?
All right.
Have you ever left the lights on in your car or anything like that?
Oh,
That's-
no,
that's,
no.
you know, that's, not to say similar situation because it's a little more specific, but, you know, I know in my past job when I was with the state, I remember a guy at the steel mill did something like that, he forgot to turn something on and had a bypass, and believe me, he's reprimanded too, and, you have to follow procedures, but one of the things is that with any procedure like that, you could have additional checks along the way, so you could catch the problem quicker, so those are some of the other things that we implemented. We're not very proud of it, we're actually very upset about it, but it is what it is. We did the proper thing in properly reporting it.
No, I was just thinking, is there like a nightly check-off list where you say, okay, I've done this.
Yes, there is now.
Okay, all right,
Exactly.
thank you.
I believe something needs to be mentioned just with the communication. That was the bad part that you were talking about. The good part was, I understood that there was terrific communication on behalf of people at the beach and all around the boating community, and I mean, it was far and wide that got back to me that, the communication from that, of pulling the beach people out of the water temporarily until, communication was as to exactly what and how much, or approximately what and how much was communicated tremendously by the police department and others departments. I don't remember exactly, but.
Yeah, what we did was by the 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they identified the problem around 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. I don't have my report in front of me.
10:30.
10:30, the chlorine was turned back on. We did another test at noon. The results were 0 for E. coli leaving, or for bacteria leaving our plant. And then we tested again around 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I think it was closer to 4, maybe 4:30. That result was also, our typical discharge. So I called the park department and said, look, time of travel down there should be okay to open the beach back up.
And they did. They communicated that as well.
Right. So those.
Nice job.
How we handled it. Well, thank you. Okay. Refuse tonnage report. What are we on here? We're on July. We had a grand total of 1,000. I don't know where the Excel spreadsheet is that's supposed to be here. That's supposed to show us the comparisons, but we don't have it. We had 1,284 tons of trash picked up in July. I also want to tell you that in the last 2 weeks, I was becoming increasingly, God bless you, Mr. Meyer. I was becoming increasingly frustrated with these, I don't know what you want to call them, household piles, trash piles, little open dump areas where people dump stuff in alleys or behind houses or in their house. Some people call us up and say, hey, I got a pile of household material I need you to pick up. Our list was growing and growing and growing, and we didn't seem to be catching up. So I put together a different tracking form, spent a lot of time working on this, late into the night on a couple of occasions, where now it tracks everything, the date we put it on the list, the date we pick it up, how many days took us to pick it up. It automatically totals the average time that all the piles were out there and the open number that we had. At the time I started the list, we had about 89 open piles, and now I think today I found out there were all but 2 that were picked up and 9 more on the list today, something along those lines. So there's 11 or 12 now, where we were up around 89 a couple of weeks ago. So this has turned out to be really valuable, a real valuable tool, allow us to get a better handle on picking this stuff up. Oh, and I know what I was going to say. Roughly from August, I think it was the first part of July that I started this list from, July 5th, I want to say, through August, through yesterday, I think we had 300 or 400 and some odd piles that we had addressed already. So it's a lot.
So these piles, are these ones reported to you from the homeowner?
Anyway, if somebody calls it in and says, I got a pile, can you come and pick it up? We have if you're a homeowner, there's two types of piles. There's one where you're cleaning out your closet and you got a pile, can you pick my pile? Okay, we pick that up for free. But if it's construction debris, if you're doing remodeling of your home and it's construction debris, then that's considered, we call it a special pickup. It's just a term we use. And then you have to come in and pay us a $50 deposit, and then we charge you for the weight of what was dumped. And then there's other piles where we don't get any calls, and people just put it out and we see it and we go pick those up. Now what we do is, when I went around last week with some of the guys, because I was actually out on this stuff myself looking at piles, and Steve and I went out, come up to a pile, it's definitely construction debris. Knock on the door, talk to the homeowner, we say, look, we can't pick this up without the special deposit. They came in, paid the deposit, then we went and picked it up. And then there's other stuff like where people just dump alongside the road and stuff like that. We put those on the list and we picked those up too. So I think it was 357 piles if I'm remembering correctly. So it's probably up to almost 400 piles in about a month and a half since I was just tracking this. So I'll try to maybe give you a few more updates on that at some of the upcoming board meetings.
Yeah, and I understand that there are some little cameras that are being put around.
No, there's no camera, Spike. That's not accurate.
For dumping?
I don't know. I don't know about any of that. Let's see here now. The next thing is, I guess that's all I had. Is there any other questions?
Attorney Meyer.
Okay. First item on the list, Long Beach Sewer Project update. If you recall, several meetings ago, Commissioner Smith asked and agreed to try to acquire an MOU between the town and the sanitary district regarding the total project. I pretty promptly prepared a outline of terms. Now that would have been probably a month and a half ago, maybe longer, and forwarded it to the attorney for Long Beach, which is one Chris Willoughby. I have never received a response to that, or the 3 emails I sent subsequently and 2 phone messages I've left with his office. So, I mentioned to Mr. Cuss about him trying to possibly get in touch with a board member. My legal ethics prohibit me from contacting anybody who already has a lawyer. And in this case, that's the town, which is Mr. Willoughby. So, the Haas part of this has already been signed and approved and by the town itself about repayment down the road. I'm not sure what the issue is in reference to their attorneys.
I will
respond.
I have not followed up on Mr. Meyer's request. Maybe you could send me, I'll wait till I get 3 emails from you and 2 phone calls too before I do anything. But if you remind me again, I will certainly try to follow up on that. I'd just like to add to that Mr. Mauer from Haas and Associates was talking about a public hearing. I don't really think there's a need to worry about having a public hearing if we can't get this agreement, because that's what the hearing would be for, is the SRF loan. So
right.
Without that agreement, I don't see any need for a public hearing.
I agree. The next thing on my list is the professional services agreement for Matrix, and all of you were provided a copy. It's a very thick document. Should have been in.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, Matrix is a company that specializes in cybersecurity evaluations or assessments, and they were identified by Andy Metanik, the director of our IT department, as being people, A, he's already worked with, and B, who know what they're doing. So he recommended that they be contracted with to do a cybersecurity assessment, risk analysis for the city, including the sanitary district, and asked them for a proposal. They submitted a proposal. There were some discussions. The long and short of all which is there's a contract which has and their contract documents are, I shouldn't say that, there's a contract which is I reviewed and approved. There are also, if anybody's really interested in all of this, page after page after page of technical details about what they look at and what they're looking for, and basically a score sheet in reference to what they find. Their total cost for the assessment and I think Andy's still here, if you have any questions, you can ask him. It's $25,000, which I think is very reasonable considering. Now, they will just, at this point, do an assessment and they'll do a report letting us know where there are weaknesses, if there are any, which probably there are. And then there would be further work efforts after that to identify what are the cures, right? And then, as you guys probably already know, at some point it comes down to a cost-benefit analysis, not only in dollars but in time, in reference to what corrections you want to implement. You can change your password every half hour, or once a day, or once every quarter. And there has to be an evaluation by the management and the board as to how you want to proceed at that point. But that will only come about after you receive the report about the risk assessment.
And with that in mind, that information that we are considering in this proposal, Andy, is it going to be directly correlated with an additional subcontractor that make that information? Do they have somebody that they commonly work with after an assessment, or would an additional subcontractor, for loss of a better term, would they have to redo an assessment to actually put in force those, as opposed to, a risk assessment on certain topics such as, high, medium, or low?
What is going to be done with the assessment is there's going to be an executive summary that has a very high-level overview that would be shared to the public and to the board, because we cannot get into real granular detail. There is a security issue, publicly. So what will happen out there is something that is identified as a issue. What this assessment does, and the reason why we're using NIST, is because this is an organization's specific standards that we're following. This isn't like a matrix integration or, ABC company's ideal what a cybersecurity assessment should be. It's actually a NIST assessment, so it has some teeth to it. It's actually a very recognizable one. It's one that a lot of the U.S. government agencies use. And so what this assessment will do is it will give us basically their recommendations on how we should prioritize issues that are found on our network. So they will go through and say, okay, you have this problem, this problem, this problem. This is your most severe. This is how we suggest you tackle it. And so then we can come back to the board here and go, this is what it's going to take. These are the different contractors that we could possibly use, and this is the cost of it. So this is just to simply help us prioritize and identify. It's a very comprehensive assessment. It takes a minimum of 10 to 12 weeks of work on both the IT department side and on the matrix side to have these things accomplished. One of the first things we do is we go through the entire network, citywide, everything at the sanitary district, piece by piece by piece, down to the smallest, I don't know, like somebody's iPhone plugged into their computer and use it as a charging cable. We're going to have to document every bit and piece to every scanner, printer, everything. And it all has to be written down, documented with its serial number, asset tag if it's applicable, and other identifiable information. And all that has to be put in to this report just for us to even start the assessment at that point. And then it just goes on from there. And this is just the first step in many to help ensure the security is maintained here at the city. Because since we are an interconnected city where all of our departments talk amongst each other, we're only going to be as secure as our weakest link. And so this assessment is going to be able to bring out any of the vulnerabilities that we might find at other city departments. So it's a great start to begin with. Also, Matrix Integration has recently done a assessment, the NIST assessment, for other agencies here in the area, including the Michigan City area schools, the Dublin School Corporation, and the Crown Point Community School Corporation very recently. And so, this company does have proven experience with community sector assessments and have had very good results.
So that answer, I think, some things you may not even, you're going to look at the most critical items and then come up with, like I safeguards you need to put in that.
Yes.
That could be other costs down the road, right?
Yeah, and a lot of these things, there's gonna be some things that we're gonna find that we can do in-house.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that we have. I mean, we are very fortunate to have a Cisco certified cybersecurity person on staff that already has, it says some of these qualifications that are kind of coming up on what our contractor does with some of the certifications. So we can do a lot of these things in-house, and we anticipate being able to do a great deal of these changes to make it more secure in-house.
Yeah, makes sense to me.
Yeah.
So we need approval to do that, or?
Yes, I
We need approval for the
Yeah,
contract.
just one quick question, is the sanitary district taking care of the entire 25,000, or is there gonna be?
Yes, the sanitary district is the IT department for the city.
Correct, I know that.
Now, as we get into expenses every year and all the time, we pass on certain expenses, parts of at least certain expenses to the city. So this would be part of that.
We have a memorandum of understanding of how much they're gonna pay for different services each year, and we have a standing memorandum now, and we take care of everything, we pay for everything. They provide us with financial help for that, and they're gonna renegotiate that for 2000.
But no, for this particular item.
Yeah, specifically.
This one was included in the city's budget, so the money is there. And the district doesn't have to pay and get reimbursed. It's actually in the city's budget for this.
Thank you. Very good.
So
Thank you. Impressive, very impressive, detailed proposal, 16 pages.
If
Really told a
anyone
lot.
is interested, I have about 150 pages of technical
That
details.
16 was fine, your email a couple days ago was fine.
Is there a motion to approve this professional services engagement proposal?
I made a motion.
Yeah, I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Okay, the next item on the list is another professional services agreement, this time with Butler Fairman, which all of you should have had a copy in your package. Butler Fairman's an engineering firm. This involves the project at the airport to extend the runway over Michigan Boulevard, Highway 35, I think it is.
We're gonna do that, huh?
And, well, this is in the design stage. Their engineering firm is, excuse me, Butler, Fairman, and Seaford. Part of that project will involve the required movement of our sanitary sewer out of its current location to another location nearby. And the same with water and NIPSCO and all that. So the final federal approvals for grant, for instance, have not all been completed, which is why they need, but in order to get those, you typically have to have the engineering plan done. I don't know if you know how much work you guys have done with the federal grant folks on this type of thing, but specifically FAA, they want to see what you're planning to do. Anyway, the long and short of all this is that we, myself included, negotiated this agreement with Butler Fairman. And the plan is, of course, that the district would hire them. They would complete the plan. The water department and the district will be sharing the cost of their work, because they're, it'll be the same right of way that they'll be putting the, or easement, the utilities in. And down the road, as the federal grant approvals come in, the district would be reimbursed for its expenses. But the final grant approvals are not looked to be approved until this time next year at the earliest.
We need to get the engineering done now, and then
as soon as reasonably possible, so it can be included
if the grants come through.
Updated applications to the FAA for the grant.
And if the grants don't come through,
Then we got ourselves a nice little engineering study on how we could move our sewer if they were ever to move the runway.
Is there a motion to approve the agreement with Butler, Fairman, and Seaford, not to exceed $84,300?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Approved.
The next item is the transfer agreement. I still have not received the signed version from the president of the hospital, so.
What's gonna happen first, Long Beach or the hospital?
Yeah, well, the hospital's already up, running and functioning, so
Okay.
we don't, it's not any pressure there to get anything really done.
So we need,
In a hurry.
I guess you're right. They still own it technically, huh?
Correct, they're still responsible for it, so there'll be one to get rid of that liability, although it's not much. So, a plastic sewer doesn't usually need a lot of maintenance. The next item is an agreement which I provide copies to regarding SEH, which you've already voted on and approved.
Yeah.
They're gonna be leading the effort on this citywide asset inventory. And then finally, there's a resolution that all of you should have a copy of. And Mr. Christopher gave
Amending
a number
policy regarding payment.
regarding payment for costs of lateral repairs and correction. Previously, the board, way back in 1978, had, as recited in the resolution, had approved the district paying one half the cost of work and materials, work done in and materials installed in a city right-of-way when it involved the repair of a sewer lateral. Occasionally, as I believe all of you have come to know, in the city of Michigan City, there are situations where they have what we call community laterals. So apparently when the development was done, the developer wanted to only have to pay one tap-in fee. So they hooked up all of the houses to a single lateral eventually that it tied into the district sewer. Well, as you might imagine, as time goes on, and you get into the 40, 50-year range, there's problems with those laterals. What has happened on occasion is that the new homeowners by that time, may not know that there is a community lateral, so they go out and if they got a problem with their lateral, they just hire a contractor to install a new lateral and end up cutting the community lateral, which causes problems for anybody tied in upstream. And then there's also times when they do let us know and we are aware of the fact that the community lateral needs to be removed because under the municipal code, it specifically provides that each building is supposed to have its own separate lateral. So it's Mr. Costa's in my position, that in addition to paying the one half the cost on repairs, we should also pay one half the cost of work done in the city's right-of-way property easement for a correction, which in essence is extending typically a new lateral from the house to our main. And quite typically, our main is within the city right-of-way or easement.
Any questions from the,
That's really the only change to this, is clarify some of the language and it would allow us to pay for one half if someone was correcting a community lateral and.
I think that gentleman that came in the other day?
Could be, it gets expensive when you start, digging up the street and so forth, so I think it's a good.
Is there a number on this resolution?
Is there a number on this resolution? 1409-19.
Okay, is there a motion to approve this resolution?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Approved.
That's all I have, unless anybody has a question, I'm glad to answer any questions, if I can.
Any questions? Okay, approval and allow revenue and tax levy claims for payment.
Motion.
We've got two of them, right?
Correct.
Yes.
The second one's not really listed on there, but.
Okay, grand total of $757,156.97.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Same thing for claims docket for a grand total of $1,698,716.89.
And just as Mr. Kistler pointed out before, those are actually transfers.
Transfers.
And not Payment of bills.
Yeah, I make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Aye, approved. Old business. New business. We are adjourned. Next, regular meeting, September 25th.